You guys are on.
We're on. What an exciting day this is today. Hey, Pit Nation, thanks for joining us. You can see on the other side of the screen, you don't have to watch me all day today. You get a chance to be able to bounce questions off of the PBA Commissioner, Tom Clark. Tom, I can't even tell you how excited I am to have you on. It kind of makes me feel like, you know, when we have a show, like, okay, yeah, you get this person on as your guest host, you get this person on, but now we got like, you know, Taylor Swift on today, or like it's a big name person on. So it's pretty cool. You're making us all look good. So Tom, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to see you. I mean, Brad, we go way back. We go too far back. I think to about 1988. So
1988, I graduated high school and I went to Erie Community College here in Buffalo. And part of our conference bowling was we bowled against University of Buffalo, RIT, and this college called Buffalo State College. And this guy, he kind of looked like he looked a little bit like Kyle Troop. He always had like really curly hair that was always puffed out a little bit. Lo and behold, that was Tom Clark. So I bowled against Tom when I was in college. We actually thought we'd talk about some of those war stories back in the day from when I met you. So we've known each other over 30 years, Tom.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, I definitely had a different hairdo, that's for sure. Your hairdo's the same. I mean,
yeah, I got the little gray patch right up here. That's from the kids and the lack of success recently on the PBA tour. But hey, it is what it is.
No, and you were great. I mean, you came from such a great family, you know, a bowling family in Buffalo, which was and still is. I mean, now you own a bowling center there, which is incredible. But I mean, it was such a great bowling environment, and it's really why I went to school there. I mean, I wanted to bowl there against Erie Community College, and I wanted to bowl on Buff State. We were loaded. I mean, when I first went to school, our team was awesome. It was not easy to make. You know, Gary Faulkner was on my team. Not the young Gary Faulkner who won the world championship. The other Gary Faulkner, who's a PBA 50 guy now, and he's just such a great bowler. He came from Vincennes, and you know, Chuck Husted and Charlie DeZolt and Paul Matisse and a lot of guys from Buffalo who you probably knew growing up, like Henry Allenback and Jerry Slipko and a few other guys. And these guys could bowl, and it was a lot of fun. I remember it was not that easy to make that team. And then bowling, and you weren't there my first year. I think you're a year younger than me, but. Yeah. Then we bowled against Newman my first year, and Mike Newman was on Erie, and then Newman. Everybody talks about Mike Newman now. He's like he's like a legend. His legend just continued to grow and grow and grow. But to us, it's just a kid that bowled all the time, you know. And he was it was amazing watching him. But I never knew he was that great when we bowled. I always thought I'd beat him, you know. And then we bowled together. I bowled with Newman on like Wednesday nights at Abbott Alley's one year. Our team was Newman, me, Ray Bellett, and Pete Cambio. I mean, this was fun. That was fun, and it was a great time. It was great to bowl during that era in Buffalo, and then you came along the next year, and then you know we were all you know. By that time I'm 19 or 18 or 19 and feeling like I'm a veteran of college bowling in the Buffalo area. So we, you know, the new guys for Erie, they were, you know, it was always going to be an indoctrination period, but it didn't take too long to figure out that you were the real deal, and let's not mess with this kid when it comes to bowling. You know, so and then watching you stick with the game. I mean, so many of us from that era, I feel like we didn't really stick with the game because it changed so much. We were in the middle of the plastic to urethane, and then the reactive resin came out in like 92, and that was when we were getting out of school. And a lot of us had kind of made our games built on the idea of hitting up on the ball and trying to put more on it because it was urethane era and kind of like how Bob Learn bowled. And And I'm, you know, taking a little bit of Mark Roth, and we were just ripping on it. And then when the reactive came out, it just killed that advantage we had built for ourselves to put something on to put our power on the ball. And then you'd kind of watch other people go past you just because of the bowling ball. And it was very frustrating. So a lot of us of that age stopped. But then we would root on guys like you and Barnes and PA and people that were from our era that we bowled against that we respected and stuck with the game, figured out how to bowl with new equipment, adjusted, clearly loved the game, you know, and then watching you make Team USA and then win a PBA title. I saw you in person win the Viper in Nebraska, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was when I was sitting near Bill Straub during that match. I think you beat Chris Lowshetter, if I remember right. These things just come back to me, and
wow.
yeah, and it was awesome to see my friend from.
It's interesting that you remember so vividly so much of what it was like growing up here in Buffalo. You didn't even mention Brad Kuski and Mike Falero and Dave Gwindon,
yeah,
and Pat Healy and Bill Rowe, and you know the guys that came down from Canada, Jack Jurek, Joe Chacon, all of that whole group was all right here. I would say that our Wednesday sweepers over at Thruway Lanes, I would say that those were a stronger field than most PBA regionals.
Oh my! I'm telling you, I was going to just mention those sweepers. I mean, in our house we were all bowlers, you know, and we were basically on the sweeper tour. I mean, every night there was a great sweeper. And when you bring up names like Dave Gwindon, like you'd walk in and you go, okay, Gwindon's bowling tonight, which means you're gonna have to get through him to win this sweeper, or Newman, and it was, we'd go up to Niagara Falls and bowl, Lucci's Lanes, or we'd go all over the city, and every night it seemed like there was a different sweeper where it was whatever it was to get in, from $20 to $100, and it was intense competition, and they ran them really well, and it just felt it was like a mixture of organized bowling and action bowling, and it was with people that, you know, you really enjoyed being around, but because of the competition, it was, that's what I love about sports. I don't, you know, the best thing about it is competition, competitiveness, intensity, and we got that every night in Buffalo in bowling. And if you don't love that stuff, and I remember God, I couldn't keep up at some point. I you know, it frustrated me in bowling, but there were plenty of times when I was there. I remember bowling Dave Gwindon for a title in the sweeper once. I remember that, you know. I remember bowling Newman to win a sweeper. You know, you remember those moments from when you're a kid, and when I was bowling him, I didn't think, oh, he's better than me, he's going to beat me. You always, like any athlete or competitive person, you always have to believe in yourself, or you might as well not even be there. And it was a lot of fun, but you know, I think, you know, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that era can come back? That kind of thing can come back? You think people have that kind of mentality still where, hey, we're going to go up to the bowling center, it's going to be 11 at night, and we're going to bowl. And, you know, somewhere along the line that's got lost, I think. And I'm not sure why, you know, even action bowling, it was just so cool. And I mean, I remember bowling all night long at Rockmar Lanes in Buffalo. And some of the moments that I even question about myself, like, can you perform in the clutch? And that's not just in bowling. That's in everything, every walk of life. Big meeting. Am I going to perform in the clutch? And there's things you can call back on in your life and say, see, I came through that time, which means I can come through the next time. But there's also times when maybe you didn't. I remember I was bowling for a huge pot at Rockmar, and this was bowling at Buffalo bowling at its best in this building. This is where Tom Baker came from, and it was like, you know, to me, $100 was a lot of money back then, but this was like a couple $100 was on the line, and I had to make a 4-pin to win the pot. Now, you would think that's going to be easy, and I'm telling you, when I threw the ball, I seriously thought I missed it. I was like, oh my God, I missed the 4-pin. I'm going to lose this pot. And somehow, you know how sometimes you think you missed it, but you make it? You know, somehow I made it. Somehow the ball kept going and I made it. But I lived with the fact that I blew it. And that's never left my mind. Like, you know, you never take anything for granted, you know, that type of thing. But yeah, all you have to do is bring up moments and I'll remember everything.
You know, I have to tell you, all of those names that you talked about, we're talking about, we wouldn't even get to the bowling center until 11 or 11:30 at night. Pot games would start at midnight, and we'd bowl pot games until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And we're not talking just having 2 or 3 guys bowling pot games. It was literally a who's who of every great bowler around. And we would bowl for, it would start out, you know, $5 a man. And then there would be a lucky double. So we'd put everybody in a hat and draw out, and you had a doubles partner. And it would be, you know, there'd be 20, 25 guys bowling pot games. You know, all the names from back in the day, I can't even think of some of the names.
Well, you know, here's
Fran
a guy.
Back.
Yeah, Franny he was at all of them. I mean, John Masiello and Al Straney's, you know, Ray Bellett. I mean, he'd never turned down a game, you know. So I remember bowling.
Yeah.
These guys, one time when I was in school, and Paul, you know, he's one of my best friends of mine. He was the best man in my wedding, Paul Matisse. He was a great bowler and stopped bowling around that era too. And he and I were good friends, and we teamed up with Al Straney's, John Masiello, and Ray Bellett, and in Syracuse, and bowled in this tournament called the Crossroads. It was kind of like the Lilac, and it was fun, and we won. I mean, I shot like 780 with a Black Knight. I mean, I remember that, and at Syracuse Bowling Center. And I'm telling you, I should have bowled 900. I couldn't miss it. I couldn't miss bowling there, and it was with a Black Knight the whole time, and we won the whole thing. And that type of thing, when you're a kid in college, that like paid for my next 3 years of bowling. You know, I mean, even just winning a few grand, you know, was a big deal. And I certainly remember all those moments. And you know who else was around there? Sean Perry, who's around the tour now and done really no joke, an incredible job with lane maintenance for the PBA the last few years. But Sean was a great player too. I mean, people don't remember that, but you probably remember that. Did you ever bowl against Sean when he was at his best?
Well, believe it or not, Sean Perry bowled at Niagara County Community College in NCCC, and he was on the same team with my oldest brother, Mark.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I met Sean. I was like 10 or 11 years old when I met Sean Perry. So I've known Sean for 40 years now.
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, geez, I have to ask you this, Tom.
Yeah.
How many interviews have you done, and how many interviews have you been able to talk about this sort of stuff, what it was like growing up around Buffalo? Not even other people could even understand what life was like here growing up in Buffalo with all the names and what it was. Not that they didn't have pot bowling in other places. It's not that, but the names that came out of that era, it's really uncanny, the number of people that came out of that came out of that place.
Oh, you know, everybody knows Bob Learn. I mean, and he was like a legend when we were kids. You'd read about this guy who had 3,300 games or something, and you'd say that's impossible. I mean, at the time that was impossible. And it wasn't like today where Adam Barta has 250, 300 games or some crazy thing. You know, it wasn't like that. And the number Bob had was unbelievable. And but Bob would drive from Erie to bowl in Buffalo, you know, a lot. And on the weekends, I missed that.
Bob drove up a lot with Ron Palumbi. Ron Palumbi used to come up and bowl that Wednesday sweeper at Thruway Lanes.
Yeah.
You know, listen, I got to tell you, these guys are trying to say, hey, get a move on here. Let's get to the interview. I don't know. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, no, and to answer your question, nobody has asked me about these things. The only thing I've ever had the opportunity to talk about with people is college bowling and how valuable it is to be part of a team in college and be able to travel the country and fail, succeed, learn how to work as a team, have a chance to go all over and make college fun. And that's why it's so easy for me to be a big proponent of college bowling, and to watch it grow has been fantastic. But in terms of the behind the scenes bowling stuff in Buffalo, no one's ever asked me about it.
No, I can tell, because I mean, I just turned your switch on and you've been taking over the whole thing. I mean, this is great. Look at, he's got his I Love New York mug. I think it's fantastic.
I do. I feel for New
All right,
York.
listen, I have to ask you this question. The number of people, old timers, middle-aged people, even some of the younger people growing up, I asked all the time, when can the PBA come back to Buffalo? What is it going to take to bring the PBA back to Buffalo?
And as long as you have Lenovo there, I want it to be in Buffalo. I mean, I mean, every time we come back, I go to Lenovo every single day. But the, Thruway Lanes obviously was our last great host, and it's not a bowling center anymore. And we used to come to Buffalo almost every year. And but for any city and for any bowling center or group of bowling centers in any city, it really comes down to fitting a schedule so it works into the geography of what the PBA is doing. Being able to host a tournament that would be at a PBA quality, which most centers aren't. We figured out ways to make it work almost anywhere at this point. Regardless of the number of lanes, and there used to be a lot of criteria, but we can make almost anything work now. But you got to have you have to have an investment. It has to be either local or from the bowling center to believe that bringing the PBA in will give them an opportunity to not only market their center, but recoup their investment into the PBA by selling tickets, by having great pro-ams, by running clinics, doing different things with the pros. And usually it does pay off, I think, for pretty much anyone that hosts us. But as you know, as a proprietor now, it's not easy to give up your center for what could be a week, or at minimum, even for a regional, to give it up for 3 days on a weekend. Then also have to pay, the PBA, so that the PBA can run the tournament professionally at the bare bones that we can. I mean, it's not like we really don't ever think that the PBA is raking money on any level from a proprietor. It's not happening. It's just trying to make it feasible. So it's still, we understand it's a tough investment for anyone to make it happen. And then sometimes someone wants to make it happen, but only on a certain week, and then that doesn't fit a schedule, or there's not enough weeks in a year to bring in new hosts. But honestly, if somebody wants to make it happen and they have, it's not a huge investment, to be able to bring either the national tour or regional tour there. All they have to do is call and say, we're really interested in how do we get to the next step, and how do we, what can we do for you to make this work? And here's what we can do for you. I think that Buffalo starts from a great place, because I know for a fact that it'll be a great crowd, and it'll be a great, knowledgeable crowd that understands bowling and respects the players and wants to have this opportunity to be near the players and bowl in pro-ams. And I really think that's usually the first step. I mean, I live in Milwaukee, which is also a great bowling city, and we've been here many times and come back, but we don't have a regular stop right now. We haven't had one for a while, and that would be the easiest place in the world, you would think, for me personally. But a lot of times all these things just have to fit together. It's just a big puzzle. It's not that hard, but it takes sticking to it. You have to get to the next step and not stop putting the pressure on, and never give up, and then you'll end up having a stop.
What about having as part of the PBA League? There's a couple people that have said, hey, couldn't we put a team together from Buffalo and have it be, you got the Motown Muscle, you got the Brooklyn Styles. Could it be the
Buffalo Wings?
Yeah, the Buffalo Wings, or the Buffalo Rapids, or something like that.
Yeah, Buffalo would be a great city to expand. If the league could expand, having a Buffalo franchise would make a ton of sense. I mean, right now the way the league is set up is purely like kind of like the NBA or Major League Baseball, where it's not like a team from Buffalo can say, "Hey, we're going to put 9 baseball players together, and we think we can play in the major leagues." No, there's probably 0 players from Philadelphia on the Philadelphia Phillies, for example. It's basically franchises, and then those franchises attempting to have the best possible team to win the most games and win the World Series. And so that's the way the PBA League is set up now. There's no gimmick, roster moves. There isn't anything at this point like, well, we're going to have an all women's team, an all senior team, one woman per team, one senior per team. Well, we're just going to put together teams based on regions, and you have to be from an area. It's not set up that way now. Not to say that that's not possible and they couldn't evolve in different directions to involve more people that way. But right now it's set up just to have the best teams possible. And, but when we do expand, and it's a chance that the PBA League could be a bigger part of the PBA. I mean, I think it's been a great experiment these few years, and of course going to Bayside Bowl a few years ago took it to another level and made it just a destination spot and more fun than really anyone's ever had bowling in an event. So they want to see more of it, and if we could develop things and things could pick up, it also has different sponsorable elements, which, as you know, is the key to professional sports, professional bowling, is more sponsors. And if you can sponsor a team, it gives you a little bit different sales pitch to any investors. And so there's a chance that the PBA League could actually become a bigger part. We could expand. We could have home and home. It always was built with the idea that we'll have home and home matches and travel around just like a regular, like a Big Four sport. And I'd love to see that day happen. And then in that case, when the team from wherever, Portland, goes to Buffalo and gets into your house, and we only need 2 lanes, as you know, to do a PBA League event. I mean, might not even need 2. We might just need 1 if you wanted. And if we can move into Buffalo, and that crowd is a home team crowd against a visitor, and we can make that fair where it's not just like one team's always home. I mean, imagine the emotion and the power in that building. And so hopefully we can get to things like that soon.
Well, let me ask you a question to piggyback that. The match that EJ Tackett and I just did through the live stream on Monday, we saw that you joined in. You thought it was a great idea. Be along that kind of thing. It's just that we didn't have anybody here because of all this, the whole shutdown. But if we're able to do something like that again, to have promote these team matches, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think it would be great too. And I think that does touch on an issue, with bowling, which is we do a lot of great things, but things have to get to a little bit higher level. And it usually has, in any pro sport, that has to do with fans. So we have to figure out how to get as many people as engaged as possible in watching us before we say, how great it is. It's great. I mean, you and I love bowling, so I can watch any match. When I watch you bowl by yourself, I'm watching something that I'd rather watch than watch a college football game that I don't have a team involved in right now. And I just like to watch bowling. And some people just love to watch tennis. So we've always been, that's always been my goal in life, is to get more people to want to watch bowling the way I do. And if we had more people like that, the numbers would be so high that what we're doing would be sustainable. We'd have 300,000 Xtra Frame subscribers, or now Flow Bowling subscribers, and the amount of money that would be coming in to support professional bowling would be astronomical. The reality is we've been doing all those things and we don't have 300,000. So you have to keep trying to figure out, how do we get there? And it's not that simple. I mean, it's not as simple as saying, we just got to do this. Now, we've tried a lot, so it's, but that's going to continue to be our life work until we can get there. You know, how do we make what you're doing and you bowling EJ Tackett from long distance, you know, be so compelling that the number of people watching is, I mean, you guys did an awesome job first time out and you got like 300 people watching or something like that. And you say, wow, how can we grow this? How can we get this? Can we get it to a point where there's thousands and thousands of people watching? Now, one area that in other sports and that we've always wanted, we started talking about it earlier, about action bowling and bowling for money and how intense that is when you're in the middle of it. Well, if we get people to wager on bowling and wager on you versus EJ legally and make that part of the game, I mean, I think sports betting and gambling, you know, has the potential now to be a big driver in bowling competition being even more compelling. I mean, I watch all the qualifying on Flow Bowling of every tournament that we have, and I find it compelling. I enjoy it. But it would be really compelling if there was money on the line to a person watching and trying to follow Brad Angelo. I bet Brad Angelo, he was 20-1 to start this tournament. I'm going to watch every game he bowls. We have cameras on every pair, and I'm going to live and die with every shot this guy has. You know, we've been, and don't get me wrong, it's not like we haven't been working on things like this. We're trying, and we try to get there. Sometimes it's chicken and the egg. Well, how many people do you have watching? Well, this many. Well, we don't have enough people to get gambling going. Well, but if we had gambling, then we'd have more people watching. So you always have to find investors or people in other professions to take a risk on you. So that's kind of part of what we always do every day too, is get more people to buy in to the PBA and why, you know, they would want to be watching this.
I got to tell you, you know, the thoughts about, okay, wow, we're going to have Tom Clark on. What am I going to talk with Tom about? I don't want to talk about the same old stuff that Tom has to answer everywhere else. I haven't heard anywhere of your interviews. Maybe this last point that you just made, but you know, somebody just typed in a question here to ask Tom about the wall of the top 10 lists on Bird Avenue.
Who said that?
What's Bird Avenue?
Who knew that?
Well, somebody just texted in the guys. That's why I keep looking over here. Like, ask him about Bird Avenue.
Well, that was one of the houses that we had as a bowling team and bowlers, and when we were in college, and it was a lot of fun. And Mo Barker, Michelle Barker. Remember Mo? You know Mo, right? Yeah, she lived there too.
I know her well.
Yeah, and she was a great bowler. I mean, she bowled for Erie and bowled on the pro tour a little bit. I remember watching her bowl a 300 game, but she lived there too. And Paul and Gary and Chuck and Charlie, and we were, Letterman fans. I was a Letterman fan and remember his top 10 list. So then we would do top 10 lists every night. I won't say we were, totally coherent, all the time, but we had a lot of parties in that house. There were a lot of parties and there were a lot of things going on, but we would always be writing top 10 lists about all kinds of different things. And then we'd write them on big sheets of paper. And that was our wallpaper in our apartment and our house on Bird Avenue in Buffalo. It was, I
remember I was over there for a handful of your parties, and literally the whole walls were filled with these top 10 lists that they had just handwritten. They made them up on their own self. It wasn't even specifically David Letterman's 10.
No.
It was top 10 this or top 10 fails of jackpot bowling and top 10 most fun times at Rockmar Lanes and all kinds of stuff like that. It was just neat stuff, and I'll never forget it. You've never been asked about that on an interview.
No,
I guarantee you.
no, it's a good thing too, because if I had been asked about that early in my career, I might be just gone. But so at this point, what are they going to do? And no, we had a lot of fun with that. I mean, we always had also the thing that changed every week was we would do the top 10 bowlers in Buffalo, and it was like half serious. But I was always in the top 10, which meant it really wasn't serious. Sometimes I was number one. I mean, there'd be like number two, like Newman, Tom Baker 1, Tom Clark 2, Mike Newman 3, or Masiello. I mean, I think Masiello may have been number one for many weeks in a row. But we had, I don't even know, Brad, if you ever made a top 10. You probably were in the top 10. Never? I think you probably were.
Oh,
I remember. Do you remember? There was one guy that was on your team, and he came from Oregon, and you probably know his name. I don't know.
Rich Corwin.
Okay, well, it was amazing to us being New Yorkers in Buffalo that somebody from Oregon came to Erie Community College to bowl, and we only referred to him basically as the kid from Oregon. So I think sometimes the kid from Oregon was in the top 10.
He used to have a conventional grip. He had a conventional grip.
Wow.
And he had the highest rev rate of any of us. It was like unbelievable that he could achieve that higher rev rate. He had his fingers almost fully in the ball. It was unbelievable. All right, listen. So I want to switch gears. I know that you have other obligations this afternoon, and it's important to a lot of people around here in Buffalo that we get this in. So, as a surprise for all of you guys on Pit Nation, those of you that have supported Bowl U and everything that Bowl U is doing here around the Western New York region, we thought we would have a segment to be able to get Rick Benoit on the stream with us, to be able to have a conversation with Tom. Now, obviously, you already see that Tom Clark has as many words to say as I do, so hopefully we can keep this quick and have a neat little conversation here. But so let's add Rick in.
He's not in yet. I'm just texting him right now. I'll try and get him in.
Okay, so we're going to get Rick on here. I guess as one of the last things that I would have for you is, where do you see this whole Corona thing leading? I mean, is there going to be a PBA tour later this year? Is there going to be a senior tour?
Yeah, well, I have no news or no answers. It's like everything else. There's so much uncertainty. All I can tell you is that there is just a constant daily, by the minute effort to reschedule, get things going the earliest possible, working with all the partners, working with new ownership of the PBA Bolero. That's all they want to do is get it back, get going. And we had finished most of our national tour. We had 3 events at the World Series, the Masters, and then our playoffs for the national PBA on Fox tour. And so working with Fox to try to, when can this start again? But anyone who pretends to know exactly when you can come back is just, it doesn't exist in any sport right now. So we all live in that same uncertainty. I can just tell you that it's all about figuring out how to come back. You're a bowler, any bowler, and any bowler, any athlete, anyone in business is built, if they're successful, to look at the next shot, the next ball, the next frame, the next game, how the next event, the next day, and how we're gonna compete and how we're gonna work that on that next shot. And so I know that for all of us, having this uncertainty is when the next shot's going to be, and then it's a moving target, is it's more difficult than bowling. I mean, it's more difficult even than knowing that your next shot in bowling might not be what you thought it was going to be because of the things that Rick Benoit talks about, how invisible the game is and how the game is an art, and so this is a different art in trying to navigate through what's happening to the world right now. And but it's just frustrating because you can't throw that next ball, and that's all we all want to do. Of course, you get to throw it there at home. You're lucky, man. I don't know. I was bowling in the street yesterday. I mean, I'm throwing bowling balls that had cracks in them. I'm throwing them down the road. So
I got to tell you, I for as much as I watched that, I watched it probably replay 9 or 10 times, and your backswing has gotten a little bit lower throughout the years.
Yes. Well,
but I got my thought was, wow, there's a lot of friction there. And that was one of the thoughts I had. But then I thought, wow, he lives in a nice neighborhood. I bet you he has a lot of trick-or-treaters. That's exactly what my brain went to.
Yeah, Halloween's a favorite around here. It's a good one. Although I live in Milwaukee, it's like Buffalo. Half the time on Halloween, it's still snowing, That ruins the fun. I mean,
so let me
everybody's
ask
talking
you-
about golf in Wisconsin right now. Golf is open, which kind of pisses me off, you know, as being rooting for bowling. It's like, well, if golf can be open, then why couldn't we figure out provisions with bowling? But anyway, you know, but then I look out the window and it's like 30 degrees and it's snowing. So why people are excited about golf in Wisconsin when it's like, I don't know. So anyway.
I have to ask you, in your neighborhood for Halloween, do you have a huge slew of cars at the outside of your neighborhood that park their car, bring their kids in to do their trick-or-treating in your neighborhood?
No, we have a giant gate and we don't allow anybody in. This is exclusive. No, that's not true. Not true. No, yeah, actually, some kids, build a wall. No, some kids do come and walk around in our neighborhood. Oh man, my kids are now. I barely have kids anymore. My daughter's 21, and and in college, and my son is 17, and he bowls. He's a two-hand bowler, and he, it's really disappointing that junior there you go, that junior gold was canceled. I mean, just as a parent, I was so looking forward to junior gold. I mean, because he won a spot in that thing, and I remember when he won it, he bowled in it's called the Junior Bowling Tour in Wisconsin, which is a really well-run tour that this guy puts together here in Wisconsin, and he has junior gold qualifiers, and so for three of the games, they count towards making the junior gold, and you're bowling against the field. And Rory, my son's Rory, and he started off with like 248 the first game, and they bowl on a sports shot. It's not easy, and he went right to the top, and then he held on and he made that cut, and we're like, you get the spot in junior gold, and it really feels good. And I was like, we're going to practice all year, and we're going to go, and it's going to be fun in Vegas. I've had my tickets. It took me 3 days to cancel my plane ticket and my reservation at Sunset Station, even after they canceled the event, because it just felt so bad to have to not be able to go, So hopefully all those kids that were looking forward to junior gold can find other opportunities and have another chance at it, because I know it's how important it is to them and their parents. And when we were kids, our parents were supportive. Your father was, one of the greats, and he watched all your shots, but they were supportive. But I'm not sure if they were bringing us all around the country at thousands of dollars of investment every single time. I mean, these parents today are another breed of supporting their kids. Our parents said, "Go, see you, come back." And my dad was a great bowler too. He was somebody that always watched every shot, and he knew, he held back telling me what to do, because, he knew that the only way you can really get somebody to love the game is they have to buy in themselves. I mean, you can't keep telling somebody what to do all the time and expect them to really love it. So it's a fine line of, but you as a coach understand that.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids around here, as well as a lot of parents, that junior gold is one of the things that they work towards, and that's their benchmark for their whole year. And for a lot of the kids, even more so than their high school team. Yeah, the high school is very important, but at the end of the high school season around here in February, then the final push for the next 2 or 3 months, what are we going to be working on to get ready for junior gold? All right, we have Rick available now?
Yep.
Okay, let's add Rick Benoit in. Let's try to have a conversation. Who knows going to really be talking about? I really don't have anything planned.
Here's what I want to talk about. This is one of the best shows I've ever seen. Really, Tom, I enjoy learning a lot more about you. You're always so involved in the business side of it. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy listening to this side of you. It's awesome. I don't even want to get serious. Can we get serious another time?
Well, honestly, you probably feel this. I don't know, but for me, one frustrating thing about the positions that I've had in bowling is that they're usually at a level where a lot of people are either relying on you or figuring you're important to their development, which is a huge responsibility that I obviously accept. But but people tend to make up in their minds what type of person that you are. They don't really know, but they want to project it because and so many things that I have to do are serious. I mean, they're very serious. I mean, just rules are serious. Running tournaments are serious. Lane conditions are serious. Prize funds are serious. Where you go, how the host is treated, how sponsors are treated. Every single thing that I do is serious. And so it's always been a little frustrating to me that that people, that I'm never really able to be funny, or show my true personality, which usually has a lot more to do with being sarcastic or having a lot of fun around things. It's hard to have fun when people are really relying on you in certain positions. And I've learned to feel that way about other people in positions like mine, where, don't pretend to know what they're like, until you actually know them. And so I don't know, but I don't know if any of that makes any sense at all. But
it makes a lot of sense to me, Tom. I've always told people that Tom Clark's the right guy. And they said, why is he the right guy? I said, because number one, he does come from a bowling background. I didn't know that background until today. I think that's great. But you've always been willing to try different things and at least give it a shot. And then if it doesn't work, you're willing to shift gears onto something else. And I think that that's something that we've lacked in the industry. And here's the one thing I want to say, and I want to hear you talk about, because I know you're in a hurry. I think the PBA needs to take a bigger leadership role. I think you need your own rules. I think you need to take control and build down instead of allowing, and not to say anything bad about anybody, because everybody who's in the industry is very well needed. But USBC's guidelines is to take care of the league player. Their rules, everything that they do is structured on membership. Their money, their income comes from membership. Well, that will always be the majority, always. We will never be able to change that. So they have to answer to that majority. They need to take care of them. You are dealing with the best in the world, which will always be the minority. But to me, you're the one that should be setting the example from the top, and let's build down instead of trying to build up. And you probably never heard me say that before, but I want to hear, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Oh, no.
But, I would love to hear your belief about that.
Well, I think it just depends on exactly what areas that you're talking about, because in some we do. I mean, the PBA, we feel like we're running a tournament the way that we want to run a tournament. We're dressing the lanes the way we want to dress the lanes. We are conducting formats in a way that we set the standard for us. We don't get a kit that says do it this way from any other organization. We have, whether it's in our regionals or on the national level, we're only allowing certain people in to compete, and we're only sticking by certain guidelines and certain formats and conditions, and we have our own rules in different ways. But then there's other areas like equipment specs, general rules of the game, where we're not necessarily staffed, or funded enough to do the kind of work that, for example, the USBC does in those areas. And so we get to lean on each other and have a relationship that way. And as you know, I used to work for the USBC too, and work on different equipment specs committees and things, and rules committees and strategic planning. And so having a positive relationship with a governing body like that, I think, is really important. Yeah. So, it's hard to just say, well, let's just break off and this is the only way bowling should be played. I would encourage people to use PBA rules all the time. Sometimes it takes other people to say, wait a minute, the PBA is doing it this way. Let's do it that way. And a lot of times that happens. Guys start up weekend tournaments. They use PBA type of formats. They use PBA patterns. The PBA experience leagues were really cool for a while, I thought, to at least give people a semblance of an idea of what the conditions were like. And so, and if we ever have rules that we disagree with a USBC rule or a league rule because they're based on things like handicap and stuff, we change those rules. We have different rules. You can use whatever hand you want at any time and in the PBA. And so I don't know. I think maybe you and I would need to drill down further on specifically what you mean, because in some of those areas, I feel like we do lead.
Well, here's what the general picture is: if somebody flips the channel on Tuesday night and sees professional bowling and they watch whatever's going on TV and it looks just like it looks at the bowling center, there's going to be confusion, natural confusion. I think that there needs to be a greater separation between what the unknowledgeable viewer sees in league and then what they see on TV. Mm-hmm. The challenges need to be more obvious. We don't have 20 years to teach people the difference. We can do it if they all want to go to camps and clinics and, but we don't have that. I'd really love to see somebody, but I think Tom Clark's the right person.
Well, you're right that it's when you drill it down, it's kind of the same game, which a lot of people would say is important to having an audience grow, to relate to people. But then in different ways, I feel like we have progressed on television with what's there. I mean, you have to like the Fox strike track on the screen to at least identify with people that there's a game being played that maybe they never saw before. There's a target, there's arrows, there's a break point, there's a speed, there's a rev rate, and there's a consistency there. And being able to show all that is a step to make people look at the game a little different. And you certainly don't see that in almost any other bowling, but you're seeing it on the PBA. I'm a big fan of our adding a color to the oil so that at least you see that it's oiled. Is it perfect? No, but at least you can see there's a length to it. There's an impact on it. You can see tracking on it. This is not anything that anyone's really doing at home. And then you have fans all around. You have fans down the lanes, and you have signage, and you have and you're building up these players as the best in the world from all over the world, and they're one-on-one against each other, and that stuff's not happening anywhere either. So we are leaders in all these areas, but I think you're right that at some point there's got to be another step that takes it in a direction that maybe we can't even think of at this moment to be able to reach the kind of popularity that will give us the money, basically, that we all want, so that it's even bigger and more people want to bowl. So I don't disagree with you that there's more steps to make, but I feel really good that we haven't rested on, this is what we do, that's it. We keep adding, keep building, keep trying to make it more and more compelling and unique all the time.
I'm a huge PBA fan, huge Tom Clark fan. I think you're the person who's capable of creating a difference. I do see the industry growing tremendously. If the PBA looks totally different than the recreation, all the money is to be made in the industry in between, in that growth. I believe where I fit into that equation is in the middle. I can teach people to get from one level to the other level, whether we have 3 levels or whether we have 20 levels, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That's where the growth happens. Nobody in the PBA should be paying for anything. Recreational bowling should be very cheap. It's the in-between steps, the growth, the motivation, all of the encouragement is where the growth and the money and the industry has greater potential than we ever realized. And I think that you're probably
I think you're right.
Person who can make it happen.
Well, the respect, I mean, there has to be a reason that you would work as hard and learn as much about something as you can provide to them. And the reason needs to be either prestige, money, there has to be a reason. And so adding to that reason, now I'm going to learn from Rick Benoit. I'm going to spend the time because there's a payoff here. you know, and there's only always going to be a very small sliver of people that actually make money bowling. And in any sport, there's a sliver that make money playing basketball. But people have a certain level of prestige or respect based on their skill in a game that makes it worth their time to learn more. And we have a measure of that in bowling, more than a lot of other sports, but there's a way to go there. And that's what I think we're all on the same page striving to get there. And having your perspective and your unique way of looking at the game from a side, from all different sides, and looking at it as an art, which is what it is really, and trying to teach that becomes more and more compelling when more and more people want to understand that. So it's all one big puzzle that works together, and we'll keep fighting. I mean, I really felt like we were getting there. I mean, moving to Fox and being able to have more exposure on things like Flow and then social media and YouTube and the way the direction we were going was we had the right buy-in from the right kinds of people, and our number of viewers was going up and up and up, and so that was going to lead to more and more sponsorship and money, so that you can go up and up and make decisions that are your own decision when you have your own backing and your own investment in money, than having to do things a certain way because it's someone else's money. And that's the key to any sport, being able to make its own moves. And I just that's why this is frustrating to not have that next shot right now. I mean, we're all just on pause, and it's hopefully when we come back, we can get back to these conversations. So
I just want to let everybody know that that I am a huge Tom Clark fan, and I know that I'm always going to be thinking where people say out of the box, but I'm really not. The structure of all successful sports has that same idea in mind. The industry growth is in the middle. You guys are most definitely the stars. You're established worldwide. I hope that somewhere along the line, your new owners, who have now more than any owner has ever had before to offer, I hope they take your leadership. I hope they take those 300 bowling centers, 300,000 league bowlers, 26 million customers, and offer that to sponsors and allow it to grow. But we've got to fill the middle. We've got to separate the two ends and then make the money in the middle, in my opinion. And I don't want to get any more serious than that, but I want everybody to know that I do believe Tom Clark's the guy that can make it happen.
I appreciate that, Rick. Yeah. I mean, and have I ever turned down a conversation with you? I don't think so.
No. I think
I'll invite you in anytime to be a part of any decision making or anything. It's so I appreciate that.
You bet, Tom.
Brad's another story. I don't know.
I was afraid to come in here and say, I don't want to ruin this. This is great stuff.
But Brad is a better bowler than either of us. I guarantee you that. And I know you're good too. I know your brother's great, but Brad is knows how to roll the rock.
Yeah, he does.
The one thing that I learned about this show, or from this show today, is that no longer am I the only one that can just talk and talk and talk. And run out and go
we ruined your show.
You're the first one to shut him up, Tom.
I'm glad that I have.
Man.
I'm glad that two of what I would consider both of you my very good friends, I'm glad that both of you are fully capable. I could have just shut off my camera, went to the restroom, grabbed a sandwich, and came back and just nodded my head, and everything would have been just fine. So, listen. Tom, I know you have to go.
Yeah,
I know you've got to be on another show in a little while. Rick, I know you have Bowl U tools that you're grinding down. I'm surprised that you're clean. But listen, would both of you be willing, maybe even as soon as next week, or at least some other time, be able to come back on and we continue this sort of conversation? My phone has been blowing up while you guys were talking from personal friends. And they're just saying, this is awesome. I love this. This is fantastic conversation. We have to go back to work. But I'm already 15 minutes late from going back to work. So would both of you be willing to come back on and have more, roundtable talks like this? Would this be something you could do?
I'm all in. I'm all in.
Absolutely, anytime. Just let me know. Let me know. Hopefully we can work it out. God, the way things have been going, I haven't left my house since March 15th. So I mean, this is unbelievable. So if this keeps going like this, we're gonna have a lot of time.
I'm going to be flipping off here, watching your next. Who you on with next, Tom?
Mike Flanagan. I mean, it's all this is like there's a new era in bowling podcasts where everyone's got their own show now. And actually, it's been helping me pass the time, watching Beef and Barnesy and watching Belmo and watching Flanagan and Brad and who else? Storm does that show every morning, and all the guys are doing shows. And I keep telling my son, who's a bowler, you got to watch this stuff because you can pick up information and you can get better at bowling just by listening to people like you guys talk. Then you can't even practicing sometimes because it just opens your mind to how to practice and how to think about the game and understand there's different levels of understanding the game that I don't even understand that I'm learning. When I listened to AJ Chapman last night on some show, I learned, and that's what anybody has the opportunity right now to do while they're on pause and can't bowl, learn as much as they can. And everybody stepping up to spread these messages is helping the game. So
I agree. I support it 100%. Yeah.
All right, I better go. Good luck. I'm going to be watching next time you guys bowl. And you should do Rick's clear the deck the next time you do bowl at EJ.
We've got a couple of them. That is a good one, isn't it?
All right. Yeah, I enjoy it. Let's watch one play out. Watch the whole thing.
If we just EJ hasn't done it before, so we have to teach him a little bit about it.
Oh, he needs a lot of work. He's trying to pick up the game. I mean, I was criticizing the announcing. I'll just say because I heard Rick say, well, early on in the match, he was talking about how some rev rates are not so great on a house shot, and you're making excuses for EJ. And I'm like, no, EJ can bowl on anything at any time, and he might just shoot about 880 the next 3 games here. So just have to wait on that. So.
All right, Tom. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Enjoyed it. All right.
Thank you, Tom.
Good stuff,
Rick, we're
buddy.
going to keep you on for just a couple of minutes.
Okay. All right.
I thought that was great. I've had people texting me. I just think that it was so sweet to be able to have all of that on. Tom just mentioned that, maybe we could do for our format, we could do the clear the deck format for our next match. I kind of wanted to save the clear the deck format for if I'm able to get a response from some of these other guys that I've reached out to. Maybe we could have a multiple competition on the clear the deck type of thing and do it in the form of those strings. I don't think that's too complicated. I think that went over pretty well. So for those of you that are still watching, thank you for staying on this long. I thought that was fantastic. I was just as much a fan as you all were there, listening to Rick and Tom, especially Tom, talk about his college days and what life was like growing up here in Buffalo. I mean, that was golden. I've never heard Tom talk about that sort of stuff publicly, and it was a treat for me as well. Yeah. But so coming up Monday, the match between EJ and I think we're going to do a put up or shut up format.
Okay.
And Rick, I'll let you introduce that. It'll be the put up or shut up format. So what's that all about?
Put up or shut up. We're all bowlers, and what do we strive for? That feeling in the 10th frame when you have to get up and double to win the match. I mean, that's why we bowl. That's why we bowl the first 8 frames. A good match is when it's tied going into 9th and 10th frame. It's close. All great matches we expect. You, Brad, when you're bowling on TV, you're going to have to perform in the 9th and 10th frame. You know it. You expect it. We're using 8 frames to be prepared for those 2 frames. Well, we're just going to make it tied. It's tied going into the 9th and 10th. Now you have to perform. And what makes it better is we turn it into match play. Best of 7. Follow your own transition. You have to perform. Every shot means something. And we all love to be in that position. I'm telling you, best of 7, double elimination could be done in a very short period of time. And the energy that's in the building, the feeling that the players have, gets sent into the audience, and you feel it. The building is just wild.
Rick, tell the story to the group here. Now, we're going to put a little variation on this just between EJ and I. We're going to make it be a little bit longer so it's more fun to watch. But I want you to tell the story as to the put up or shut up tournaments that you had while coaching the Saudi national team. Talk a little bit about that Saudi national team and the way they spoke. You know, hey, coach, talk to me, coach, type of stuff that they would do was fantastic.
I have a lot of fond memories in traveling around the world. And one of the greatest challenges you have when you go into let's just say a bowling underdeveloped part of the world. Here's an example. The total membership of the Saudi Bowling Federation was 130 bowlers. The whole country, 130 bowlers. Yet they wanted to be world champions. Come on, a small bowling federation is 20,000. And really, you know, when you're really trying to teach the sport of bowling, there's so many people that think about the physical game and the physical game. Well, the way I look at it, that's the easiest thing to change. The hardest thing to change is the mindset. The common denominator amongst all great bowlers of all eras is how they think. Not what they think, how they think. There is a common denominator in that. But take it to a part of the world who, and love you guys from Saudi, but within the first month I was there, I took the 10 to 15-year-old kids outside. They love to play soccer. So every day, all right, we're going to go out to the soccer field and we're going to start to work on the way they think. Okay, we're going to run a couple times around the soccer field just to get loosened up. Now, these are 10 or 15-year-old kids, and halfway around the field, and they're not running, believe me. I'm not even sure they were jogging. They're holding their heart. My heart, my heart. Excuse me? Your heart? So I go over and I put my hand on their chest, and I kick him in the butt. I said, you've never been motivated. You've never been pushed. Now, literally, it was a loving kick in the butt. I didn't really, there was no intent on hurting him. But you got to push them. They've always, in that part of the world, they get tired. Whether it's physically or mentally, they just quit. They just give up. You can't be that way in sports. You certainly can't be that way in bowling because you're going to get tired mentally. So we have to change that first. So that was my first focus. And my love for those experiences are, they'll last for a lifetime. You know, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to wear a medal. And, you know, we can make that happen. But that really isn't the joy of the sport. And that really, as a coach, that isn't what you're
teaching. But Rick, talk about when you did the put up or shut up tournament with the Saudi team. Well, you know, we did this. Well, it was a Masters. Okay, we had in Saudi Arabia, you know, they had a lot of you know, support, financial support. So we were able to establish a lot of regional events. And keep in mind, this is 130 bowlers in the whole federation. Everybody's invited, so everybody comes. I don't care if they're averaging 80. Or whether they're average. Believe me, we had bowlers averaging 80 and bowlers averaging 230 on the lanes at the same time, and right next to each other. You know, you can only imagine what that's like. But you only have 130 bowlers to work with, and you're trying to develop the whole country, evolve the sport. And so we had these regional events, and through these regional events, you could qualify for what was the end of the year Masters. So we had the top 24 bowlers come in, and we were going to have the Masters tournament. I decided to use the put up or shut up format because I wanted to develop their mindset going into needing to make a shot. How do you feel when you need to make a shot? Well, we had that double elimination, best of 7, and I'm going to tell you, they were never so tired in all their life.
And of course, at the beginning of it, what is this? This isn't bowling. This isn't bowling. And through explanation and through coaching and through teaching, the things that they learned that will carry on for the rest of their life. I think that's the important thing I want to say is, if you're a developing bowler, you can get into that circle of change, changing your physical game, changing your bowling balls, but you're never going to get there till you really, truly understand the art of the sport, the common denominator amongst all the greats, the things that we talk about, the order of understanding, coming back to what you have been very successful with in, your essential elements, the 5 motion sequences. These are things that all coaches should be sharing. Yet if I went to a gold level coach in the present coaching structure, they'd have no clue what I was talking about. And these are the things that I was able to share in Saudi Arabia. And you got to experience it too, Brad, when you went over there and you got to feel the energy. I went over there in Riyadh. They had 0 youth bowlers. 0, not one. Every bowler that was there was, older, established, somehow, got involved because somebody gave them something free. But we built that up to 30 kids in a very quick period of time because we brought out the passion, the emotion, the love for the sport. And that's really what we want to do. And then let their natural competitive instincts determine what level they go to. And why don't you share some of your examples of the passion that you felt over there? Because, I got to feel it on an everyday basis.
Well, it was really special being over there. Being able to teach right alongside Rick was in and of itself a treat for me. And we had 3 different places that we went to in Saudi. We went to the very eastern side, which was a city called Al Khobar, and we did some stuff over there, getting to know some of those people. And then part of those people, they would drive to Riyadh for the next time that we were together. So we were in Riyadh for a few days, and then we went over to Jeddah, and getting to know them was really a special time in my life. And in the short time that I was over there, I can see how you grew so fond to them. The stereotypes that we have of Saudis here in the United States is completely different. Certainly there's the radical people, and certainly we have those sorts of people that you have to deal with. But those people over there, they were so appreciative of the time that we shared with them. And getting to know them, they wanted so bad to be good. And it's like Rick says, the obvious part that was holding them back wasn't their physical game. They have some pretty gifted kids over there physically.
You pulled kids
man,
up.
when you put them when you put them in a situation to where they either could fold or could succeed, they could barely step up on the approach. They couldn't even control their emotions enough to be able to get up there to put themselves right in the heat of the battle. Yeah. And if and when we did that with them and they succeeded, they didn't even know how to contain their emotions. They were like if they had to double in the 10th, the very first shot, if they got the strike, they would react so over the top that, oh my God, yeah. And wait, hold on. You got to stop. You got to hold another one to get. They didn't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
And that was amazing to me to see a whole different culture of people get to the point that, you can have a part in helping them learn to be great in that situation. The competitive situation, whether it's bowling or golf or basketball or in their world over there, soccer, they were so appreciative for what we were able to do for them. We actually, we had a group of them. We were over in Egypt teaching, and then we bowled a tournament in Cairo, Egypt. We were doing some bowl U stuff right at the base of the pyramids. I actually was going through my phone the other day.
Yeah.
No family. All right, no family portrait. But I found those.
They are family to me.
Of where we were right there at the base of the pyramids, right behind us, right at the base of the pyramids, doing bowl U drills.
Yeah.
You know,
On the
picked
side
up
of
a
the
rock.
wall.
We picked up a rock and we're trying to balance like we had the orb in our hand. So for those of you that haven't ordered the orb, get your order in. But I want you to know, I was talking with Rick yesterday. Rick only has the capacity to make 8 orbs a day. So over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we were doing the features here on this show of the bowling products and how they're used.
84 of them ordered in the last month. 84.
84?
Orbs.
Okay, so we had 84. So and that's not even, you know, taking into account all of the other tools. I know there's a handful of people.
Right.
Huh?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely the other tools come in, but the orb is by far, it's like, you know, newfound money to them. It just, everybody wants it. And it's understandable.
The orb, but what you can do with the orb is, in my opinion, the orb is perceived to be the best tool. Those other tools are every bit as important, but that orb, and I think the reason that everybody's gravitating to the orb and wanting the orb is it's really the only tool that allows them to go through the whole approach and feel like they have a bowling ball in their hand and throw it outside to where, you know, they're achieving that balance and motion. I've had some people that have said, well, should I get the 6 pound or the 8 pound? And I tell them, yeah, start with the 6 pound. And they're thinking a 6 pound bowling ball is too light. You don't even realize how difficult it is to control that orb.
I'm going to change that, by the way. I'm not going to change the weight. I'm going to change the way I describe it, because people think 8 pound orb, oh, that's the one I'm going to get because, you know, 8 pound ball is nothing. I'm going to change it to heavyweight, midweight, and lightweight, because that 8 pound orb feels heavier than a 16 pound ball when you're not understanding how to follow the weight. And that's what we're teaching with that. So whether you're needing to create momentum or just follow the weight of the ball, that, you know, the teaching aspect of that, you know, Brad, you guys, you know, as well as anybody, that all these tools were developed from traveling around the world and trying to teach without words. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's because words aren't as effective, especially when you're traveling around the world and you're dealing with a translator and people that they may speak a little bit of English, but they think in their own language. Well, these tools were designed because I can hand it to you and sit back and say, okay, go do this drill, and you learn it on your own. Then it doesn't take near as many words to fill in the gaps.
So I got a couple questions here, but I want to finish the thought over what we're going to do with EJ. I think we have to at least do a best of 15. You know, that because we're only talking about 2 frames, so best of 15, if it goes the whole distance, will really only be the equivalent of, you know, 30 potential frames.
Well, don't forget it's double elimination. You're saying best of 15. Well, best of 7.
Well, yeah, but you can't have double elimination between EJ and I.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
You're okay. So you're talking. Hold on. So you're talking. Best of 7 is like the first game, and we do best out of 3, best out of 7s.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, it could. You know, you could end up having 21 games, and believe me, it goes that way. So wherever it goes and introducing it to people, you only have so much time when you're dealing with this. Like right now, you're at an hour and 15 minutes. How many people are going to be on there for an hour and 15 minutes? Not everybody. They're going to come in.
I don't know. The amount of people that are saying how great today has been, it's inspiring to me to continue to do what we're doing to try to reach out and get more of the influential people, that the people that are watching, they can't just get on the phone and get a hold of Tom Clark.
Right.
And they can't, you know, many of them can reach right out to you because you've been here and you've gotten to know many of the people that watch this live stream. But the very fact that the conversation that we're having, there's a lot of people that buy into the sport. I mean, they love the sport. There's workers that work their butt off all day long, and they look forward to getting here for the competition of Bowling League. You know, much the way that I couldn't wait to get to the bowling center, and that's really all their life is. So those are the people that are watching this live stream. And every single week, Josh, you know how many people even say to you, I thought it was great. Keep doing what you're doing. Wow, I love it. And the whole time I'm thinking, geez, we're at an hour and 10 minutes. Wow. My first thought the other day on Monday was, wow, this has taken a long time. Not even realizing how many people, the only negative comment that I received, only one. You guys are professionals and you're wearing jeans. Why are you wearing jeans? I'm thinking, give me a break. If that's what all I got to worry about, then so what? You're lucky I didn't wear my night pants. With the way I have my night pants on a whole lot more than I have regular slacks on now. We can't go anywhere, can't do anything. So if you're going to get tripped up over the fact that I'm wearing jeans, well, then I guess you don't have to watch.
It's kind of funny, and I can understand the challenge because, you know, you're always wanting people to come back, and you're familiar with the Fun First program. You know, you've got coaches that say, okay, let's get to work. Let's get down there and let's teach them the fundamentals of the game. They won't come back next week. They'll stay home. They won't come. But if you use the Fun First program, you're going to have twice as many people next week as you did this week. Wait until you build the competitive instincts before you start teaching those crazy fundamentals. All you're doing is running them away from the sport. You know what I mean? You're always going to have people that have their own opinions. And your presentation the other day, that match, the competition for a cause, that's what it is in my mind. You guys did an awesome job. I don't care what you had on. EJ was fantastic. The only improvement I could possibly see was being able to communicate with you like I was able to communicate with EJ. Because what makes you great and what makes EJ great, they can't see it. But if I talk to you, I can bring it out and then you can express it. Because you're one of bowling's great. EJ is obviously one of bowling's greats, and I think that we can share that like nobody else can. And I say we, I'm talking about Bowl U, and that's what our focus is. Our focus is to bring out that passion, that energy, that what makes people want to come back. I had kids off the street in Saudi Arabia, and you saw it, Brad. In less than 6 months, they had tour level rev rates, didn't they? Didn't they? Wasn't that amazing? Off the street. These kids had never played ball before. So it isn't the physical
Unbelievable.
Game. Yeah.
Now, listen, guys, when Rick's saying that, it might sound like an exaggeration. My jaw dropped. There was an 11-year-old kid just doing some of the Bowl U drills, using the orb, using learning the thumb exit with acceleration, and it never even threw balls down the lane to knock over pins. Just coming in each day and doing those drills in just less than 6 months had a higher rev rate than most of the guys on tour. And I'm not joking. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah. Are you this 6 months? This kid's never bowled before?
Never bowled before.
So never bowled before. All right, listen. So let's wrap this up. Rick, it's great having you on the show every week. I think you should start to be, hold on, okay. But I think it's great that you're a part of this because, you know, we want people to keep coming back too. And what's going to make our content that different than all the other guys? Well, I think it's Bowl U. I think the very reason why people like watching my show is just because of the way that I talk and what I'm talking about. And it's not to knock any of the other guys. I'm not doing that at all. It's just that it's a little bit different. And people are like, wow, I never looked at it that way before. So, Rick, I know you had one final point. So, go ahead.
The one final point, you got me thinking when you were talking about what you're going to do with EJ. Why, you said you were going to do the put up or shut up format. Great. While you're doing that, you could also introduce clear the deck for the following week. You know what I mean? That way EJ will be familiar with it. You have to know a little bit to do clear the deck. I'd hate to put EJ in a position where, you know, you got to teach him all the rules of clear the deck. Not that they're that difficult to understand, but he already knows how to perform in the 9th and 10th, and he's pretty darn good at it.
He's pretty good at it.
I think bringing that out, it highlights EJ's already his strengths, and then you can introduce clear the deck.
How can they order the orb? People are asking, Rick. People are asking how can I order one of those orbs?
It's easy. Just and maybe you guys can put it in there in your comment section, because I don't have that capability right now, at least not that I know of. Technology isn't my greatest strength, but it's simply BowlU product, not products, product.com. There you go. Somebody's already got it up there. And I let me tell you, don't get the 8-pound unless you got a big, strong hand. Okay. there's too many.
No, unless you're Josh, just don't get the 8-pound. Even Josh, for as big, a 6'7", you know, strong as an ox, he still, there was plenty for him to learn how to work with that 6-pound.
Yeah.
Start with the 6-pound. Okay. You'll be shocked at what your body learns and how you learn to walk by that weight with just the 6-pound. You won't believe it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what level of bowler you are. You're either learning it, improving it, or monitoring it, one or the other. And there's no other tool like it. Yeah.
All right. So, hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, I think this was. I'm proud to say that I feel like every single week, when we get done, when Tim ends up clicking, okay, that's it, I end up looking at these guys and I'm like, all right, now that was pretty good. And I've been saying that now for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm proud of that we have Tim behind the scenes putting up the BowlU product right here. He just put it up just that quick. I don't have the capability to do that. We got Josh behind the scenes coming up with other ideas. He's given me questions, monitoring questions, writing them on a board so I can try to keep the show going. I didn't have to say a thing. All I had to do was press play on Tom Clark, and there I just had to sit back and let Tom Clark take over. It was great. It was great to be a part of that. And then, Rick, when you came on, I think we have the ability to do that again. I think that would be fun. So thank you, all of you that are continuing to support what we're doing. What? Yes.
What's the code? The 5% code with Rick?
Brad and Josh show.
Is it Brad and Josh show? Okay.
Rick, what's the
5%? Brad and Josh show.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm going to put it in the comments too.
Okay. Anything close to Brad and Josh, Rick will throw the 5% your way. All right?
Yeah, of course I'll do that.
Okay. So everybody join us, like and share this video, like and share the Monday videos. Continue to donate if you haven't already. I think we're up to what, $1,400 or something like that. And we're going to do that put up or shut up format. And join us Monday at noon. And I think it'll be great. Thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you Monday.
All right, guys. Great. You guys are doing an awesome job. Keep it up. Take care.